All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Nerds Who Drink. I'm Steve.
Mark.
And guys, this week, we kind of want to catch up on some stuff through the holidays. Obviously, we are now past January 1st, so Happy New Year's to all of our listeners and fans. Thank you so much for sticking with us through the new year. Happy holidays to all of you that celebrated, regardless of what your holiday was, or, anything in that nature. Cover it all. Hope everyone had a nice, safe, and happy holiday season. I guess this week, as far as our drink goes, I'd say neither Mark nor I sort of has the expertise on it because we've both kind of been doing it for the same amount of time. We want to do a little taste from our infinity bottle, which is something that we had spoke about, I want to say an episode or two ago. So for the past 3 years, we have been infusing whiskeys. And I kind of wanted to give it a little taste. I got some little mixer stuff in my special cup tonight. And I wanted to go from there. But
I do not have mixer stuff. So.
Well, you're gonna have a nice little straight shot. I mean, we did that too. Little. Oh, that's a good noise. I mean, it smells fantastic. I still love it. I already know what I'm replacing it with. I got that Macallan 12 year that's just sitting on the counter waiting. So this week we're visited by, I'm pretty sure it's a Disney Parks exclusive because I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I was just in Disney for Christmas. So there's a little Thanos Infinity Gauntlet Corksicle. If you're watching, sponsor us. It's wonderful. So yeah, to kind of dive into that a little bit. I know Mark and I had previously kind of spoke to it in another episode, but our friend group has been friends for a while, whether it's, some of us that have been friends for upwards of 30 years, all the way up to, some of the newer cats that have joined up with us recently.
And those that have been listening to us, most of them.
Yes, you've either met them through our episodes or seen their faces, but honestly, it's one of those things that, like, they've been super supportive through all of this, and a way for us to get together during the holiday season was I host a Christmas party every year. So I bring everyone over. We have the infinity bottle. We add our new bottle of whiskey to it, which this year was a Grangestone 34 year.
It's delicious.
And like, it's just one of those things that we get together, we have some fun, we taste some whiskeys. That's our group's thing. And it's just another excuse to get together for the holidays. And, I know during our previous episode, during like leading up to the holidays, that was the big thing I was looking forward to. It was an awesome time. I'm glad everyone got to come over and hang out, and I'm glad everyone had a good time. And I look forward to it next year, honestly. Like, it's one of those things that's the one constant every single year besides the holidays for us. So
absolutely. And for those of you that want to create your own infinity bottle, Steve, you kind of want to, I just forget, how much is it of each kind that you put in? Is it like?
So it's not a specific amount, right? So we did, when we originally started, we had 6. So each of us had a bottle of whiskey, a 750 milliliter bottle. We all had an empty vessel, which is also 750 milliliters. And we split the bottles into 1/6. So you had a sixth of each bottle, whether it was everything from Jack Daniels to Angel's Envy, Whistle Pig, you name it. It had to be within a certain criteria, like, 80 to 100 proof, so that it wasn't too much to dilute it or overpower it with anything else. And then from there, every time you take some out, like we just did, you have to replace it with the same amount of a different whiskey, which is kind of an exciting concept because it's an ever-changing flavor profile. So I love that. And then what we do every year is we pass our bottles around. We have our little glass that we drink out of, and you taste everyone's whiskey and you see what their flavor profile is and what their tastes are and what they've added to it. And it's a really cool concept because it's a nice little thing to get a quick buzz on. You're not an alcoholic if you're just doing a tasting, I promise. Ask any person that tries wine. But we pass the bottles around in a clockwise motion, and we just give a little taste of everyone's whiskey. Do an ounce tasting of it, and then you pass the bottle on. and then we kind of just like review, like, oh, yours tastes smoky, yours has a little sweetness to it, yours has some fruit or nuts or whatever's in there that kind of gives it its uniqueness. And yeah, we kind of go over what we put in it through the years, and I don't know, it's fun. For me, it's one of those things that it's more about the social aspect of it and just having my friends join. It doesn't even need to be in December. It just happened to be in December when we started, so we've just kept the tradition alive. So yeah, that was our big thing, and I had a great time. So
Yeah, no, I mean honestly, everybody's tasted really good, and we
oh
even
yeah,
started including John, which I think was awesome.
yeah. So we lost one person originally, like right off the bat, just disappeared, never saw him again, as people do. And we had his bottle just sitting around for years, and we were originally just kind of like, we'll keep that as like the original bottle, it'll never change. And we slowly put in a little bit of whatever we have new for that year. We always pick a new bottle, me individually, kind of like vote on what we want, and we buy a more expensive bottle than the 6 original that we put in there. And yeah, so we were able to induct someone new into the club this year, so to speak, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. So that's as that's as far as like drinking culture as we're gonna get into tonight. We know why you guys are here. You want to listen to us bitch, moan, and complain about all of the things that are going on in social media or other medias, TV, movies, other podcasts, maybe. So Mark, let's have you jumpstart that. I know you said you watched a movie, was it last night, that you did not really like?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the older horror movies. More so, I mean, I like slasher films, but I'm more definitely into like MonsterVerse kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, I mean, honestly, anything outside of Twilight that's vampire related, anything kind of like Frankenstein related. It's not really horror, but like Van Helsing was always a favorite movie of mine.
Hellsing was a phenomenal series.
Dude,
Well, movie, I say series, but like a phenomenal movie and like concept book series.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I kind of wish they would have did Van Helsing now because you could have branched off from that movie and did a Frankenstein movie and did, a Dracula movie, did a werewolf movie, did this, did that. But last night I finally got a chance to watch Alien Romulus, and I got to tell you, was not very impressed. It was your typical, okay, we're stranded somewhere with the xenomorphs and they're coming, and then you get out of that situation, and then there's some kind of bio android that really propelling the story kind of and all that. And yeah, but then they threw this twist at the very end. So spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet. Steve, have you seen it yet?
I have not, but I'm not going to, so spoil away.
All right. So there's a group of, I believe it's 5 kids, and then there's one person named Andy. And Andy basically is the main character, Rain's her brother, but he's actually like an android that was programmed by her father before he died, with the only directive being do what's best for Rain. So basically, he's supposed to just look out for her, and any decision he makes goes around, but he's still a Wayland Tech being. So obviously, I mean, the one thing I really, really, really did enjoy when they started doing the branch offs with God, what was the name of those movies? The ones with Michael Fassbender. Oh my God, I'm blanking. Anyway, there was like the first 3 Alien movies. Then they did.
Alien versus Predator.
Well, no, not Alien vs Predator. Later on, they were like the prequel ones where you learned about like the original beings.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Was it just Alien? It wasn't just Alien.
Yeah, Prometheus. They did the Prometheus movies. And I thought those were really good. I was like, okay, like they're gonna start diving into like where did the xenomorphs come from, like the original designs and things like that. Like, that's awesome. Not even referenced in this movie. Not even brought up. Basically, it's like a couple years in the future, and what happens is at the very beginning, they find this asteroid that contains the alien that Ripley originally kicked into space. And I think the first, it's not the Queen, but it's like whatever that very first alien was that got like booted out of the airlock.
Yeah.
It turns out it wasn't dead. So so these kids think that they found like they're basically on this planet where it's like you have to work so many hours to meet a criteria to get travel privileges. But what happens is once you meet that criteria, they're like, oh, we actually up the criteria. So you actually have to work X amount of more hours in this area, whether it's the mines or the farms or whatever. So basically these kids are like, look, we're pretty much slaves and we're never getting off this planet. So we found this shit we picked up on our radar, this abandoned ship that's just floating above us. And we're going to go take the pods off it and we're going to go to another system where we can be free. And of course, obviously, that's where they were doing the experiments with the alien. And what they were trying to do was extract the serum out of the alien that allowed it to control its metabolism to allow humans to be able to travel and live through space easier versus having to go into cryo sleep every time.
Okay.
So that's like the premise of the experimentation. Well, what you end up finding out is like one of the girls on the ship is actually like pregnant with the other kid's baby. Oh. So while all this is going on, she's like one of the last survivors. She gets attacked. She ends up surviving it. So she takes like the vial that has like the serum and she injects herself. Well, what they didn't do is watch like the whole video because they found the video of like, oh, look, this happened to this rat. They inject and the rat like comes back and then the rat's okay. And then they walk out and then goes back to the screen and then that's when the rat like starts transforming and like shit. So they didn't watch that part. So basically this girl's like trying to get back to the escape pod and she injects herself. And then they put her in like a cryopod at the end. So it's like the only couple survivors. And all of a sudden, like, the alerts are going off in the pod that, like, her vitals are going up and down, but she was, like, bleeding out when she went in. So they thought, like, oh, like, this happened. Well, then she ends up giving birth to, like, this hybrid human alien thing that's actually played by an NBA star who's, like, 7 foot, like, 2 or something like that. I think I'm going to butcher his last name. It's Robert Bobrovsky, I think. I don't know how to say it, but he's like 7 foot 2. Like, yeah, he's like 7 foot 2. He's like a really, really thin. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the creature looked super fucking creepy. Like they did a really good job with that. But it really just felt like it was just one of those things where it's like they just quick threw it together and threw it in at the end, and that was like the final showdown. Yeah. Which, yeah, okay, that's what you're gonna go with. But then the same thing, it's we're going to just drop it out of the ship in the space. And the whole thing is they have 36 hours or 56 hours or something to get on and off this ship because it's about to collide with the ring of like asteroids and stuff around the planet itself. So the planet's kind of like Saturn, and this station is like right outside of one of the rings and it's drifting towards them. So essentially the company was just going to let it crash and let it take everything out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it was like I remember how I felt watching the original Alien movies, and for me, like you were on the edge of your seat. You were like terrified of where this thing was going to pop out of, when it was going to show up, who was it getting next. And I feel like at this point with that series, I feel like they've done all they can really do with the xenomorph itself. Like, yeah, it's a scary thing, but every single movie has gone like, oh, there's this area. Oh, we're going to go there because it has this thing that we need. Oh, now there's spores, or there's going to be the face huggers or whatever. And then they get attacked. And then there's 1 or 2 survivors that have to fight it. And then they kick it out of an airlock. Like that's literally every single one of the movies follows that pattern. And it's really just getting old at this point. Like at least like Predator came out. Like, I don't know. Did you watch the movie Prey?
I did not. I heard it was good.
Dude, it is so good. And what they're doing now, at least to me, the way it seems like, is the Predator series is kind of taking the path of almost like Assassin's Creed, where it's taking you through like the Predators, but in different time periods.
I like that. That's a cool concept.
So like in Prey, it was like it's like this Native American girl that's hunting
Yeah.
the predator, and the predator's hunting her.
Yeah.
And then I believe they're getting ready to come out with another one where it's like, I believe it's during like the time of like the samurai and stuff, so probably like the 1840s, 1850s, somewhere in there.
Love that.
But now it's like they're starting to kind of like show the progression of the predator itself. Because
Okay.
even in that one, like when the predator comes down, like you can tell. I mean, yes, you know from the exposition of, like you said, Alien versus Predator. You learn the exposition of like they came to this planet and they would bring xenomorphs or whatever to hunt here. And
Yeah.
humans were like sacrifices to the xenomorphs to let them breed so the predators could hunt.
Sure.
So, but like now in Prey, like his mask is like it's like a skull of something it's hunted in the past.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the equipment, it's like older equipment. It's not the high.
Okay.
I mean, he still has, the cannon on the shoulder and the bomb on the arm and all that kind of stuff. Still has the invisibility, but like the actual attire of him is like time period set.
I like that though, because obviously he evolves as time evolves. So like that's one of the big things for me. If he was the exact same character as he was in any of the other Predator movies, like your character has no arc, there's no development, there's no learning of that character. Like you don't become a better hunter. You're just I'm used to hunting this and I'm doing this because it's what I'm programmed to do. No, like you got to evolve. And I can appreciate that kind of stuff. I think that's why it's better than Alien, because Alien is very one-dimensional.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the original three Aliens, hands down, way up there on my movie list when I'm ranking just series, movies, whatever. Like they were like top tier, like that era of the genre of horror. Like it was new, it was a thrilling thing. Like even like if you listeners out there are old enough to remember, like in the down in Disney in Walt Disney World in Florida, in the Epcot Ball, it would actually used to be like all the movies, and there was like the one section where the alien like popped out of like the ceiling. Like it was awesome. And now it's just like, dude, it's ran its course.
Yep.
Come up with something new, or just kind of let it go. Let it be.
I think it's got to fizzle out. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, and like it's just one of those things where it's like some things are just better left untouched.
I agree. And that's one of those, like, again, you said that the first three were phenomenal. They tried something. Alien versus Predator wasn't a bad movie, but like,
no, it wasn't. And
I feel like
the second
continuing on
was terrible.
Yeah, continuing on after that, you're really not. Even a prequel movie is okay because, like, even if it was, like a Batman Year One, like Alien Year One, like it doesn't really know what it's doing. It's kind of getting its legs. It's learning to hunt. It's not super successful in the beginning. People are getting away. That's okay because like that's the development I'm looking for. That's what I want in a movie. That's what I want out of a character. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
But
I mean, for me, the Alien movies, it's kind of like Halo, where it's like you played Halo, correct?
yes.
You know how like I'm not knocking the Halo games, love them, but I feel like eventually fighting hordes just gets tiring. It's like, okay, we don't know what to do for this boss, so we're just going to throw 5 million little people at you. And then you fight like another boss, and it's like, okay, we don't know what to do for the next boss, so we're just going to throw 5 million little people at you. It's like, that's the Alien. And it's just...
I feel like that's a lot of games, though. I mean, we've talked about it before, but like Spider-Man 1 for the PlayStation, PS4, I think it was. And then the Miles Morales game were the exact same game, just reskinned.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like that. While I wanted to play as Miles Morales because it's a different character, has different powers, he's a little more, he has, again, a sort of newness to him as far as like swinging. He's got his own style, his own little swagger with it.
He's
but
got
like
electrical powers, so even his powers
and like
got a little bit varied.
Exactly, and it's slightly different. But like when you look at it from the villain perspective, like when you're like swinging around town and fighting camps of villains, it's like, okay, they just reskinned these villains. It's the exact same concept as the other villains. Oh, these guys are fighting. Oh, they were white and black in the original one. Now they're purple and black or red and black. Like, all right, we see what you did there, and you got us, but
Well, I mean,
it's one of
even
those things where I'm
Arkham
like, God
games were
damn.
like guilty of that. It's like, oh, I mean, but at least they like acknowledge it. So like, you play like Arkham City, and it's like everybody works for either like Joker or Hugo, and then you jump into like Arkham Knight, and like as you're perusing through the map, like you'll hear conversations where they're like, yeah, we used to follow Two Face, and now we're following so and so, or once Joker died, now we're doing this, and it's like, cool. Like at least you're acknowledging, like, hey, we completely went turncoat, and now we're just following this other big bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I guess to sort of springboard off of that, I want to jump into the realm of gaming a little bit. I guess talk about is just before the holidays happened. Our entire group, downloaded Marvel Rivals, and that has hands down been one of like the greatest games that I've played in a while. Because again, to kind of go back to our previous talk about this, it's not. I don't need an update every time I start it. I'm not terrified to start that game. I jump on, I play. Guess what? It's great. It is awesome. Played it today. I'll play it tomorrow. I'm going to have a good time playing it. I'm playing ranked matches. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like, I don't know if it was just I got to kind of play around and practice with some of the characters. I haven't had a chance to play it again since we all jumped on that night. But honestly, I mean, as far as I think there's like 3 or 4 maps. I don't know if they added more, but like the map designs are awesome. There's a lot of good like choke points that are actually advantageous, and they're not just like, oh, we know you're going to come through that choke point. Like that's kind of where Call of Duty started falling into. It's like, okay, everybody knows that you're going for that choke point. In here, it's like, yeah, you can go for that choke point, but then 3 other people are going to come from over in this area and come smack you. And I like the gameplay. I just got to learn the controls. That's my thing. I got to learn the combos. I got to learn the controls. I honestly have to dive back in. I just haven't had time, but I love it. I think it's an awesome game.
I know I don't really advertise too much for this because, I'm not a huge fan of TikTok, but because we have an account, I have to go on there and I have to keep things updated and, interact with different people that have commented on our stuff. And I guess
we do read them, we do reply. Please continue.
Yes. If you've gotten replied to, or you haven't gotten replied to, I'd rather hear from the people that haven't gotten replied to because I don't think there's any of you. But because of the things that I like and the things that I follow on there, it usually guides me more towards gaming and stuff, or pop culture, or the DC, Marvel, etc. And one of the big things recently, so if you go on there, I'll have to save a video for you. You can go check it out. But there's a guy who breaks down all of the mechanics for each character, which I found super helpful because it helps me really learn how to play a character and what I should be doing as that character. So I have taken a full-on front seat to Cloak and Dagger as my main, and I'm loving it because it's really versatile. You're a healer, but you're also a DPS machine if you choose to be. So,
see, and that's the funny thing. When we first got on, I was like, okay, I've heard a couple things about this game, and it was still pretty new. When we first started playing, I was like, all right, things I've heard is Magneto and Jeff are the 2 OP characters. So I was like, I'll give a shout at Magneto. And I got mocked. I was like, let me just start playing around with different people. And then I started playing as the Winter Soldier, and I actually started doing pretty well. I mean, I don't know if you were following the kill feeds after each game that we were playing. I started off my first game, I think I went 1-19 or something, but then I was then I switched to Winter Soldier, then I was 6-12, then I was 8-10, then I was 10-5, then I was 17-3, and then it's I started getting the hang of him, but everybody's dude, he's a terrible character because he's mostly melee. I'm I'm doing fine with him.
No, it all really depends. I know a lot of people down on Scarlet Witch, who is one of the characters I started with. There's benefits and drawbacks to every character. Magneto has his abilities, so every character there's team up ability. So you playing as Magneto, if I play a Scarlet Witch, you get a boost on your sword or any of the magnetic weapons you use because they're imbued with dark magic or chaos magic.
Right.
So that gives you a bump. If the Hulk and Iron Man are playing together, every one of Iron Man's weapons has a gamma radiation burst. There's all of these team ups that people don't even think about and it makes you almost like OP. And if you have Hulk on the battlefield and Iron Man, and you're playing as Iron Man, it's game. Like it's insane. I chose Cloak and Dagger. Their team up is Moon Knight and someone else. Off the top of my head, I can't think of who it is. But awesome. Like it is such a fun character to play because you're two different people. Your Cloak and your Dagger. And Cloak is like, I'm not gonna say strictly for healing. I'm sorry, Dagger's not strictly for healing, as weird as that sounds, because like Dagger is the weapon. But she throws out these like basically homing missiles that heal your team. But also, if you throw them towards your team and there's an enemy nearby, it'll like kind of rang off and hit them. And like, it's pretty cool. I like the concept of it. And then if you're playing Cloak, you can blind the enemies. You can make your teammates within your like field completely, what the hell's the word? I don't want to say see-through. That's just
transparent.
Yeah, I guess transparent. No, they're like, I don't know, they're like ghosts. You can't hit them.
Right.
God damn, I can't think of the word. But it's like a phase thing where like they just shoot straight through you, which is a cool concept. And then he also has kind of like a Scarlet Witch power where he just like holds his hand up, boom, he's just shooting like a machine gun, and it's not super strong, but it's heavy fire rate, so kind of makes up for it. But I started playing today after I watched one of those videos and like really understood how to play a character. And dude, I was just wiping floors with people. I'm talking like 35 and like 7. Just manhandling people. It was beautiful. And having that, like Captain America's a really good character. There's so much stuff to do with Marvel Rivals, and I'm such a huge fan of it. We follow Jeff the Shark's voice actor on TikTok, so just throwing that out there. I saw it as an option, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I love that. So a little stuff like that, but it is such a fun game because again, it's not like if I don't play it for a couple days, there's people that are like a level 1 million that are going to beat me. No, the characters are always the same. It's like Overwatch. It's
Right.
like Apex Legends. Like you don't get upgrades, you just get better.
Yeah, no, and that's my, like I said, that's my thing. Because I mean, I honestly, with most like first person shooters, that's how I am. Like anytime I would play a new Call of Duty or anything like that, like once I start learning the maps and learning like the specialists and stuff like that, like it was over. But it's just for me keeping my attention to learn that stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, I got ADHD. It's hard for me to like keep my attention, but also I love the game. Like I'm a huge Marvel fan. As if you're listening for longer than 3 episodes, I've probably mentioned Marvel. But like I'm a big Marvel guy, so for me that's huge in regards to like I know most of these characters, and the ones that I didn't, like I don't know much about Jeff the Landshark, but I love the character. Don't know much about Cloak and Dagger. They're awesome. Like everyone knows Magneto and Wolverine and Hulk and Iron Man. Like that's cool. But I'm learning so much more about different characters that I didn't know about.
And it makes you want to go and explore them.
Yes, correct. The storyline itself is really cool. Like I watched a video today on like what it's actually about. And it's like 2 Doctor Dooms that were from 2 different universes, like broke this magic cube thing, like essentially it like split the multiverse, and that's why all of the characters aren't from the same universe. They all have like different looks from different universes.
No, and that's the other thing too that I think is really cool is the fact that they did like. Because I remember, I'm not sure who it was we were playing. Because I remember like somebody, I forget who it might have been Jay. Like I remember I was Magneto, and like he looked at me for a second. He's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's Magneto." He's like, "Oh," but because of like what he's actually wearing, like it doesn't look like him.
Yep, that's the same thing with like Wolverine. He's wearing like a yellow and blue jacket. It's not a the costume or a suit or anything like that. It just looks like a leather jacket. And the same thing goes for pretty much every other character, unless you like reskin them. I mean, they're all a little different, and I love that. And that for me, like, you don't have to make every Iron Man character look like Robert Downey Jr. It's a multiverse. It could be anybody. It could be me. It could be you. Who knows? I love that concept.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've recently fallen into like the rabbit hole of where does all this stuff come from? And like Jeff the Shark, like that guy, he has a voice actor behind him. Like, obviously, everyone has a voice actor behind them, but you don't think much about, like, the Alan Tudyk's of the world of, like, Hey Hey the chicken from Moana. They're like, that's not a chicken noise that they found on the internet. That's a person.
Just
And I think that's like such a cool concept. So like this dude is just making, I don't know how to say shark noises, but like what he appropriated as shark noise, like it's such a, I love that. I think it's so awesome. So I started like down the rabbit hole of what is voice acting today? Like what do you get into when you're like, I want to be a voice actor? And how do you think of these noises for a shark with legs?
right, like that. No, that's honestly like really what started getting me into like comics and stuff was like playing Arkham games because I was like, oh, like that's cool. So like obviously you had. I mean, obviously, I watched like Batman the animated series and stuff like that, and they brought back like Kevin Conroy and them those guys from
Uh,
the games. But then they did Batman Origins, where they brought in Troy Baker to be Joker. And at first,
yep.
I'm like, this guy's whatever. But then I'm pretty sure I've shown it to you before. He did a panel of it at Comic Con where he reads like, I forget. Oh, he reads. He read the Joker's eulogy to Batman from Batman the Animated Series, where they think they killed Batman. And dude, it's like it's the same, but completely different. And it's so nice. Like he has aspects of Mark Hamill's Joker in there, but then he turns it and makes it his own.
I like that because it pays tribute, which I think is important. Like if you're gonna read, I don't want to say redo a character because he wasn't really redoing it. He was kind of like making it his own. But I think that's a huge concept, especially for like big characters like that.
Right.
Like when they did the live action Aladdin. Obviously, Robin Williams isn't alive anymore. God rest his soul. That man was hilarious. Um, Will Smith took over, and Will Smith and Robin Williams, wouldn't even be in the same camp for me. But Will Smith paid homage to the original character, but made it his own. And that's something that I can appreciate. Like he did a great job playing Genie. So if you can do a really good job playing the character that you are, but also still like not disrespecting what came before you, I'm all for it. Like
Unless you're
110%. What's up?
so unless you're Deadpool, because I mean, literally that's what he acknowledges in the beginning of Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's like, if you think we're not gonna do this, well, we are, and he just digs up the body.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Again, like that's who Deadpool is, though. When I'm talking like straight up from a real person perspective, like if I got cast tomorrow to be fucking Harry Potter as an adult, like as long as I don't like do wrong by Daniel Radcliffe, we're doing all right. I'm not gonna ever be Harry Potter as an adult because I'm not British, and that's like a pretty big sticking point for that stuff. And
Hey, power to
that's
you
not.
for it.
Speaking of, I
Although,
can't wait to
I'm
see
not
that
gonna
series.
lie, I have been seeing the fan castings that are people are like, oh, this is what's good. They're going to cast this person and do this. I really was looking forward to see Harry Potter played by Terry Crews.
I could see Harry Potter played by Terry Crews,
I would
but
love to see Terry Crews play Harry Potter.
there's a caveat. Much like with Crabbe and Goyle, he's got to wait a couple movies before he becomes black.
Yeah.
Because Malfoy always has two henchmen, Crabbe and Goyle. One fat and short, and one kind of fat and tall. And then all of a sudden, one fat and short, one skinny and tall, but also black. So like,
We thought we wouldn't do
okay,
this, but we did.
I know. I don't know what to say about it. I know it's not technically Crabbe and Goyle still, like whatever. They don't really acknowledge it, but like, how do you not acknowledge it? Like, where did the other guy go?
Right? Like, just throw, and that's one of those things that movies do is like, they'll recast somebody and then try to like not acknowledge. It's like, throw something out there. Be like, oh, like, he would transfer to another wizardry school or this or that. Like, something.
Or we're not talking right now anything. Like, I think what actually happened in real life was like the kid got arrested for like a DUI. And they were like, yeah, we're not bringing you back, which is fine. Like, that happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. Apparently, if you're Ezra Miller, you're still good. You can assault people and you can still get movies, but, whatever. So be it. But yeah, like honestly, for me, it was like the fact that they glossed over it was, I think, more upsetting to me because it's like you didn't even introduce the new friend, man. Come on,
Yeah, he
who's
just
this guy hanging out with Malfoy that nobody fucking knows?
I was gonna say he just kind of popped up as part of the crew and was just like, "I'm here now."
Yep. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever. That would have been hilarious. Could you imagine? All right, so take you back if you're a Harry Potter fan. Obviously, you know books, movies, whatever. There are some similarities, vast differences in a lot of them, but the Polyjuice potion, right? So they had to sneak in. They had to get the cupcakes, right? It was for Crab and Goyle. They knocked them out, put them in the broom closet, took their hair, Polyjuice potion. Hermione became a cat. How much better would that have been if Harry Potter had to become somebody completely different? Hilarious. In the middle of talking, instead of just like needing glasses, started just turning white.
See, I think the thing that would have been like a funny way to acknowledge it is he turns into, was it Crab that could switch or was it Goyle? Crab, right?
What do you mean?
Like which character? Which one did they swap the actor on? Was it Crab?
No, I think it was Goyle as the bigger guy.
So I think it would be funny if the way that they introduced the new actor would have been like they drink Polyjuice potion. Like, yes, it's not in the books, but obviously, you know, you gotta change it to something. So he changes into the original actor, but now there's like a new one, and that's what blows his cover is that he's not around anymore. And it's like, what are you doing here? I thought you went to X, Y, and Z. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, about that.
And again, that would have been great. And, you know, for whatever reasons, yeah, this was the, I guess, mid 2000s timeline. It happens. Whatever.
Because the same thing with like Fantastic Beasts. Like
Yeah.
when everything started happening with Johnny Depp and they just recasted like the main villain. It's like, just lie. Be like, oh, like throw something in there. Be like, oh, he uses Polyjuice potion to like blend in with a
like,
crowd. It's like, okay, that
dude,
makes sense.
I forget what the term is for it. So, you know, shoot me for not being like a Harry Potter aficionado. But Nymphadora Tonks has the ability to literally change her appearance at will. Can we not just acknowledge that, like, the wizarding world is magic and just say, like, yeah, this dude just did this. He just made himself look different.
Right? Like you literally live in a world with infinite possibilities and you just choose not to make something up.
You choose violence, J.K. Rowling. You chose violence, and I'm going to fight back. And it's a little late now, but whatever. Trust me, you chose enough violence on yourself with the internet and Twitter and stuff, so good for you.
I was gonna say, I feel like J.K. Rowling has enough like battles on her.
Oh, she's got enough bullshit on her plate, I promise. She doesn't need anything from me. But
Not like it's breathing.
I digress. We do have to have a Harry Potter episode soon because we have some of our friends that are like knocking down our door to really kind of get in on a Harry Potter episode. I want to real quick before we like wrap up, got to go over some stuff from the holidays. So, Mark, give me a couple things from the holidays that you either, you know, had and you were excited about, or conversely, I guess like things you really want to talk about. I don't know how really to describe it.
So those of you that follow us on social media noticed I added another piece to my collection.
You did.
It was something that one of my very good friends suggested to my wife to get me. And at first, it was one that, like, number one, I didn't even know his was, like, available. But I added Kanan Jarrus's lightsaber to my collection, which happened to be perfect because I started off with Count Dooku. Then I got the dark saber. So I was like, okay, I'll go Sith, I'll go neutral, and then I'll go, like, light side. And for neutral, you know, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a saber. Like maybe next time I'll get like Jango Fett's helmet, or I'll get Bo-Katan's, or I'll get X, Y, or Z, or whoever's. Something like that. So it fit the path I was going, because I was gonna go Jedi. But like I didn't know that Kanan's was one of the ones that like I knew you could get Ezra. I knew Sabine had the dark saber, and I don't know if they have her like actual lightsaber from the live action or not.
I don't think so.
But But then my wife gave me Kanan's. I was like, oh shit, because like I was actually just rewatching like a lot of like the Kanan highlights from Rebels. Because I'm sorry, but in all of the Star Wars, everything, TV shows, movies, lore, Kanan Jarrus to me had one of like the most hard hitting deaths that I think ever to me. Like, yes, there's a lot of different ones that hit hard. But for me, like just the scene of Kanan when he saves everybody that's on the ship and I'm blanking our name. What's the pilot's name? Harry?
Yeah.
When he
Harrison
saves
Nola.
either way, like when she jumps out and literally like turns and like catches her with the force and like elevates her and then like I interpret it as he got his vision back for a second or two because like his eyes go from being like faded to having the true color back before he throws her and pushes them off and blows up. But yeah, so I added that now to my collection. So next I will be on the hunt for a new Sith lightsaber.
I gotcha.
Don't know who yet, but there's a couple that I definitely obviously want to get. But yeah, no, I mean that was probably my highlight was getting the Kanan Jarrus saber. Other than that, man, it was just a lot of R&R. Hung out with friends, hung out with family, just kind of chilled, relaxed, and did my thing. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Didn't get a new lightsaber this time. It's a shocker, I know. I came back with some Corksicle stuff, which is not surprising. But we've also added the Lothcat from Oga's Cantina to the collection. I worked a little bit over the holidays, which wasn't too bad. I worked the 23rd and 24th of December, which was okay. 25th, straight trip down to Disney. Spent until January 1st in Florida, which was beautiful. The weather was fantastic. I think it only rained once. Came back from Florida to have a little gift at home. We've got business cards. Super exciting. Other than that, waiting for the mead to finish up. That'll be next week. So if you guys are coming over on the 11th, we'll be here. Mead will be available. Yeah, other than that, not too much. Got some resting, relaxation in Florida. Got some sweet new stuff from Roosevelt's.
And we got something coming up soon, right? On the 16th, I believe. We got something big coming up.
We do. So if you are going to be at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, PAGE, yep. We are the sponsors for the cheesesteak dinner that they're going to be having on Thursday night. So if you're going to be there, awesome. We look forward to meeting you. Rubbing some elbows, so to speak, eating some cheesesteaks, having some fun. And that's going to be an awesome time. So if you're going to be at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, we look forward to, hopefully bumping into you. Say hi. We'd love to meet some people. And I guess to wrap that up, last but not least, I'm Steve.
And I'm Mark.
We'll catch you guys next time.